guys, so today I'm here to bring you a video about anime conventions, or conventions in general, because one of the questions I get asked quite a lot is how to prepare for conventions, how do you pick a convention, just lots and lots of different questions about conventions, and I thought I would encompass all the wisdom that I have acquired over the years that I've been going to conventions and make a video with my top tips for conventions. Survival guide, if you will. Firstly, if you have any questions or maybe tips of your own, do leave them down below, because it's always nice to get kit tips for things that I go to, because I always forget something. It's just bound to happen. Anyway, let's get started. So firstly, you have to choose your convention. I promise you now that there are cons for absolutely everything. Whether you're into anime, video games, comic books, astrology, astronomy, photography, clothes and fashion, absolutely anything that you are into, there is probably a community there for you. Even if you might be a little bit ashamed to admit it to your friends. But I will promise you now that if you look hard enough, there's a convention for pretty much anything, because there is always a community behind it with a passionate committee who just love the thing that you love so much. I will point out now there is a very good website for anime conventions specifically called animecons.com, and they list basically every anime convention you could possibly want to go to, every event that has anything to do with Japanese culture or maybe film festivals. They list it on their website and you can pick your region, so I definitely, if you are interested in going to an anime convention specifically, I definitely recommend that you check that site out. But one thing to note is that a lot of conventions have age limits, so if you are under 18, or I guess maybe 21 in America, you might want to check the age limits. There are a lot of conventions that are friendlier towards younger audiences, but sometimes they are pretty much for adults only. So, let's say you found your first convention. Congratulations! There are a lot of things that you need to know, but firstly, we're going to assume that you are going away from home for the weekend for your particular convention. So, the first thing is hotels. A lot of the time on the con websites, they'll list hotels either where the con's being held or backup hotels or things like that that tend to be quite expensive. It's always worth researching the area to see if you can find a better deal on a hotel room that's quite close to where the convention is. There are a lot of cheap ways to do this. If you're comfortable with maybe sharing a room with strangers, you could look into maybe getting a hostel, which will be ridiculously cheap for the night. Or if you have friends that you're planning to go to the convention with, why not share a hotel room with them? It cuts the cost and you get to stay with someone who you're comfortable with. All I'm saying for this in particular is that you should look around, shop around, maybe look on some good travel websites like Expedia, and you might find yourself a better deal. What I do recommend though is, from my experience at Minecon, I definitely recommend you stay on site. I was staying off site, I had to go home early every night and it sucked. So let's talk about travel. While I can't speak for everyone in the world because I'm from the UK and I've only been to 2 cons abroad, but I can speak for the UK quite well. My first suggestion is that if you are a person that is taking a very long train journey and you're travelling either to a city or during peak times, you try and book a seat on your train. This will just save you trouble from sitting on floors, because on my way to London for Minecon, I had to sit outside a bathroom and it sucked. It was smelly, it was horrible, it was cramped. Try and book a seat in advance is my tip for you if you are travelling a relatively far distance. Maybe if you have a friend close by who's interested in going to the same convention as you, why not carpool if you can? Maybe they need a lift or you need a lift and you can provide, or they can provide. It's a fair way to do it if you split the costs, and it will save you the trouble of trains. But going back to trains for a minute, if you are in the UK, I need my phone. If you are in the UK, I can definitely suggest an iPhone app that will help you out no end. And this is just the Trainline.com's app, and it basically has live, up-to-date information, which is super helpful if you're travelling really far. If your train gets cancelled, you can check when the next train is, or if you miss your train, you can check when you're going to get there so you can inform people. And it's really helpful for just travelling in general, but this app is something I definitely suggest you get if you are travelling quite a way. My next tip is to budget. I have heard this story more than once of people going to conventions and just because they're in the moment they spend hundreds and hundreds of pounds that they cannot afford to spend. Remember that you are going to a convention and you are probably going to find deals that you would not dare turn down at any other point, but there are going to be a lot of those deals and you need to prioritize. If you have like a full-time job and you're not paying rent because you're living with your parents or whatever, you don't really have too much of a problem, I guess. But if you have to pay bills and rent, you probably shouldn't spend £400 on a figure of something awesome. So you just need to prioritize what's more important, food or a figure of Black Rock Shooter. I really highly suggest that you set aside money for different things. So say you have £200, you're going to put 120 of that towards buying merchandise and the rest is going to go on food and travel costs. It just depends on your personal budget and your personal situation. What I will suggest is that you don't pay by card if you can avoid it. I'm not saying don't take your card with you. Take your card with you because there might be an emergency, but what I do suggest is you don't pay for anything on your card. What I suggest is that you actually have the money on you, and if you do, split it up so it doesn't get stolen all at once. Don't have it in your back pocket, that's not a good idea. But pay for things with cash, because it is surprising how much more you will reconsider wanting that figure if you have to hand over the 150 quid or whatever. If you have to hand over the money, it's a lot more real, and if you pay on your card, you just think about it later and then you have more problems later. So what I suggest is just having the cash on you. But seriously, don't keep it all in one pocket. Split it up, leave some in your hotel room if you need to. The next one is probably my most important tip for conventions, because it's surprising how much fun you'll be having and you might forget to eat. The tip is, don't forget to eat. It sounds ridiculous if you haven't been to a convention before or you've never been in the mindset where you've had so much stuff to do, but I assure you, and I speak from experience, that it is not fun rushing around the morning of a convention, not having time to eat because you've got so much stuff to do, and then going into hospital with a concussion because you passed out and hit your head. Not a fun experience. There are lots of things I can suggest for this. Firstly, take snacks with you. This also counts for, you know, bottled water. Take a bottle of water or juice or whatever with you so that you have something to drink if you get thirsty. My suggestion is that you have a bag with you. Personally, this is the bag that I take around at conventions because it fits a lot of stuff in, so I can have my ID, my wallet, my everything in here, and I can have snacks as well because it's a really good sized bag but it's quite small at the same time. If you don't have a bag like that, sometimes you'll go to conventions that will actually supply you with a bag that you can use. A lot of the times at UK conventions you'll get a bag like this, which is just a tote bag that you can put on your shoulder like so, and then you have a bag that you can put some snacks in, you can put your drinks in, and you can carry some shopping in it too for when you've been to the dealer's room. Those are super helpful if you don't have a bag and you need to take stuff like food around with you. So like I said, I recommend taking snacks with you because if a 10-minute window pops up in between panels or something that you want to do, you have the chance to eat. And that is something that you definitely need to remember to do. And that way it sort of tides you over until you maybe have an hour to go to your local Subway or whatever. And as for the night time when maybe there aren't a lot of convention things happening, if you aren't going out to dinner with some of your friends or you can't afford to, I definitely suggest looking into your hotel and seeing if it has some kind of kettle, because I've never stayed in a hotel that didn't have a kettle. I don't know what that says about me. You have the ability to go to the supermarket and buy noodle cups. That's going to save you a bunch of money, and it gives you time to relax as well. So take advantage of that if you can or if you want to. I guess just do whatever you want. If you want to go out to restaurants and eat, that's fine. If you want to stay in and eat, that's also fine. It's totally up to you, but just eat, because it's so important. I can't stress it enough. Because I am a total fool, when you are packing, I definitely suggest taking a suitcase with you because you never know what you might buy. They do tend to have wheels on them, so they're easier to carry and you don't wear yourself out too much. Speaking for the weakling here. But here is a list of things that I definitely recommend you take with you. Firstly, if you're cosplaying, take that with you, but another thing to remember is that you need to take some kind of small sewing kit with you just in case it tears or it gets damaged during the weekend. That way you can repair it. You don't really want to risk ruining an outfit that you spent either a lot of money buying or a lot of time making. You should just take a sewing kit with you. You need to take your ID, which is a passport or driving license or anything listed on the con's website, just in case, as well as any hotel information that you might have, such as reference numbers, booking numbers, anything like that. Don't forget to take them. My top tip is taking comfy shoes with you because you might be doing a lot of walking, because it's not guaranteed that you're going to be staying in that convention. You might have to walk to the other side of town to get some food or whatever. So you might want to take some comfy shoes with you because you're going to be doing a lot of walking, and having blisters and painful feet is gonna suck. Along the same lines, I definitely recommend you take some paracetamol or painkillers of your choice just in case you get a headache or you get stomachache or anything like that. I personally tend to take a packet of Rennie with me, which are like stomach acid things, and a packet of paracetamol with me just in case. On top of that, I suggest, going with the comfy shoes theme, you take some plasters with you just in case you are wearing shoes for your cosplay that aren't particularly comfortable. It's gonna make your weekend a hell of a lot better, I promise you. Don't forget to take your phone with you and have your contacts pretty up to date, I guess. If you want to meet up with someone at the convention who you might lose at some point, take their number. Take your camera and take your chargers. If you don't have chargers, you're not going to have a camera for very long. I personally have one of these things, which is just a USB charger. They're super helpful for everyday life. They are really helpful for conventions and saving space. And take your bathroom stuff with you. Don't bank on your hotel supplying shampoos and conditioners and soap for you. If you need any of that stuff, definitely take it. This gets mentioned a lot at conventions, but please shower or take deodorant with you, and I'm not joking, because it's not fun being in a room with 1,000 other people who are hot and it's not pleasant. Take deodorant with you, it's really good. I'm not saying you smell. Anyway, for bathroom stuff, I will show you really quickly some of the stuff I take with me. I have a roll-on deodorant, because they're really small, really easy to pack, and you can put them in your bag if you need to. I don't know how well that works for men, but I'm sure you can get travel size deodorants and antiperspirants or whatever. Another travel size shampoo thing so that it doesn't take up a bunch of room in your suitcase or your bag. Just any kind of body wash is great. I personally don't take anything this small. I take the big bottles of things, but take some sort of body wash with you because you're going to feel better for it and other people are going to appreciate it so much. And another one of my tips is to take something like this, which is hand sanitizer. You're going to get sick at conventions, I promise you that. If you go to a bunch of conventions, you are going to run into something called conflu, which you might actually get from me this weekend. But taking something like this and using it either after you use the bathroom or in between meals or whatever, it's really handy. You don't need to use any sort of towels or anything, it's just a really handy thing to have, and it kills germs and it's really handy. If you want to sell anything, do check ahead of time to see if the convention that you're at has something called a bring and buy, which is basically where you bring your stuff and you buy some stuff from other people and they take maybe 10% of the money and you get to get rid of some stuff. Check ahead of time if they have these, if this is something that you're interested in. I say this because sometimes there are forms that you need to fill in prior to the convention, but sometimes conventions are okay with you just bringing the stuff on the day and filling the forms out there. One of my biggest tips is probably not going to be a popular one. If you can avoid it, don't bring a laptop with you. I have spent a lot of time at conventions sat on my laptop for no reason. Because I'm at a convention, I should be enjoying myself. So the last few conventions I've been to, I haven't taken a laptop with me and I've had a better time. And it's more helpful when you have one of these things, so you can charge your USB stuff through the wall rather than bringing a laptop with you to do it. The internet will still be there on the Monday when you get back. It's okay. Scheduling! There is going to be a metric butt ton of stuff that you want to do at this convention. Sometimes some of the stuff is going to clash. Sometimes it's just going to be too hard to do everything that you want to do, and this is where the word prioritise again comes into play. You should prioritise what you want to do, and you should also be flexible. The reason I say be flexible is because sometimes you're going to make new friends at conventions, and maybe they want to do something and you want to go and hang out with them at this same thing, but it somehow clashes with something else. I'm not saying don't go to the panel with your favourite voice actor. Do that, for sure. Maybe if you're not too interested in a panel and you're just trying to find something to do, going with some new friends to maybe a Toho panel might be one of the most fun things you do that weekend. Another one of my tips is to maybe print out the schedule ahead of time. This way you can, maybe if you've got a long train journey before the convention, you can highlight the things that you want to do and then you can prioritise things in your head that way. It's also really nice to have a physical thing because some conventions will give you a timetable, others don't. It's a handy thing to do just in case. Other conventions sometimes use the guidebook app. I've been to 2 that have used the guidebook app for smartphones or whatever, which is really inconvenient if you don't have a smartphone, but they haven't given out schedules other than those, so maybe make a paper list of what's going on or something. It's good to plan ahead with scheduling because there's going to be so much stuff that you want to do. You're not going to be able to do it all, and you're going to want to know about it at least. And I guess we'll end with just some general tips. Firstly, pay attention to the emails that you get from the convention. If you are planning to go to Minecon next year, don't expect those to be frequent or existent, but usually when you get emails from the convention itself, they are the most reliable way to get information and probably the quickest way as well. The convention is going to share this information with you as soon as it's finalised. As soon as the schedule's finalised, you're going to get an email about it and you are going to know as soon as you possibly can. If you do have any questions, don't be afraid to ask. A lot of these convention websites will have forums where you can go onto the forum and you can ask a question, and more than likely you're going to get someone who's going to respond to you in a really friendly way, and they're going to answer your question to the best of their abilities, and that's the best they can do, and these are usually organisers of the convention. And I guess other than that, just enjoy yourself. Cons are very, very scary experiences when you first go, because you don't really know anyone in the community, but it's a great opportunity to make friends. I know it sounds easy for me to say, but try and step out of your comfort zone a little bit if you can. If you are kind of shy and reserved, maybe try to be a bit more outgoing. I'm not saying, you know, just go and get drunk and strip naked at a party or whatever, but you know, maybe talk to people if you can. Maybe you'll make new friends. I also recommend to take photos, because I guarantee you will not take enough photos. No matter how many you take, you won't take enough. I guess just remember to budget, remember to eat, and remember to wear comfy shoes, and you should have a fantastic time at your convention. So your convention's over, and you might be experiencing something called post-con blues. I've experienced this many a time. I honestly really don't know a way for you to properly deal with feeling sad after a convention's over, because sometimes it affects you a lot more than you'd think. One of the best things I can suggest is keeping in touch with the friends that you made there. It makes things a lot easier, and you get to plan when you're going to see each other again, and that's nice. It always makes you feel a little bit better, like you made a friend and you're, you know, keeping in touch and stuff. That's always a really good way to do it. If you are just missing the convention spirit, maybe look into going to another one. Maybe book your next convention. I know, as soon as GemuCon's over, I'm going to be booking IACon. If you do have any questions about anything that I might be able to help you with, do let me know down below, and I'll do my best to respond to each and every one of you if you have a question. Good luck at your first convention, or have fun if you're going to a convention for maybe the 2nd, 3rd or 50th time. But that's all I have for you today, so take care, and I will see you guys soon. Bye!